A house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make a home. Welcome to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, helping you make your home into one you'll love even more. On News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Haley, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, Dan.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to do. We've got to just hit the ground running.
Right. We're going to be talking about the Color and Design event at the end of the show, giving away tickets for that.
What is the Color and Design event? Spoiler alert for the people who maybe don't know what that is.
It's RepcoLite's premiere event.
Premiere event. This is so fun. Haley and I will host it, talking about, well, color, design, free wine, free desserts, and we're going to tell you all about it at the end of the show, and we're also going to give away 5 pair of free tickets.
Yep.
All right, so that's coming up. We'll also be in the studio with Peter Ogle from RepcoLite. He runs the online chat, amongst other things, and he's just got some great stories about some epic chats that he's been a part of.
The longest chat.
Yeah, so we're going to tap into that. But right now, let's talk about, well, I don't know if it's my favorite summer topic, but it's really up there. Ticks.
Ticks, yeah.
Yeah, I collect ticks. Well, I don't collect them. That sounds weird. Like I've got little jars on a shelf full of ticks.
Right,
I don't do that.
Don't do that.
That'd be weird. I just attract them.
Yeah, you're a tick magnet.
I am a tick magnet, and so is my dog. And that's really what spawned this. I was walking Maggie this past week at a nature area, and I was basically staying away from all the mud and all of that because I don't want to deal with that on her feet. And so we're at a nature area, but we're walking on the sidewalks that are there and the big parking lot that's nearby. So
it's a good thing you're in
nature. We can see the nature, but we're not in the nature. Yeah. Anyway, Maggie wanders over to a fire hydrant that had nature all around it, like a couple of pieces of tall grass. And she sniffed it for no more than 15 seconds before I said, okay, I'm done. Let's move on. And we started going, and Hannah, eagle eye, she sees everything.
Yeah.
She says, oh, Maggie has a little spot on her head. Let's get that a minute. And Hannah goes over, and it's a tick already through the first couple of layers of her fur
wow.
working its way towards her noodle.
I was really surprised when you told me this because it seems like it's not... I always think of ticks during the summer, I guess, and I don't ever really consider them in the spring. And that's when I'm first, going out and trudging through the woods at the park because it's spring. Oh my gosh, it's finally warm enough to do this. And I'm never thinking about ticks during that time.
Nope. So that's why we're talking about them now. We're wrecking everybody's Saturday because the ticks are out and they're bad. They're already bad. And Haley, you read something that said they're going to be worse this year than last year. And last year was bad.
Yeah, last year we did a segment on ticks because the tick population was exploding at the time, and apparently it's already off to a really good start this year.
Yeah, not exploding in a good way.
No.
If they were spontaneously
that would
exploding,
be helpful,
that'd be all right. Yeah, but they're not. They're just very, very present. So we have compiled a number of tick facts that I think will be very enjoyable.
Helpful, at least.
Yeah, so let's talk about tick bites. I found some of this really interesting. Ticks cut a hole in your skin just big enough to insert their mouth part.
Okay.
Those little...
Lovely.
Yeah, whatever that mouth part is. But that's all the further that they really penetrate. I didn't realize that. I thought they were seeking to burrow. All the way in.
People talk about the head getting stuck.
Yeah, nope. It's basically just their mouth part. That's what they're getting in there with. Now, here's something else that I thought was interesting and distressing. They have backwards pointing barbs on that mouth part.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And they secrete some sort of cement that kind of glues them in place. That's why they're tough to get out. Because they've got the barbs and
they know what they're
kind
doing.
of gluing themselves in there. Yeah. Really glad that God created ticks.
Well, and you were telling me, too, that when they do start drinking your blood, they grow to 10 times their original size.
So gross.
Just fill up with blood like a little bag.
Yes. 10 times their size, 100 times their weight. Now, here's some good stuff to remember and think about. It usually takes more than 24 hours of attachment for nymphal stage ticks to transmit Lyme disease causing bacteria. And it takes
like baby ones?
Little baby ones, right. They're poppy seed size.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, that's really scary. But it takes them 24 hours. It takes adult ticks up to 48 hours to transmit Lyme disease causing bacteria. More than 48 hours.
Okay, well, that's positive.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So you've got time.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, when we look at studies, because I guess that's what scientists do. They run studies on everything. Everything.
Ticks.
Well, here, yeah. So we've got studies on ticks, and it turns out that studies show that when it comes to ticks biting people, 75% of the nymphs, the little poppy seed-sized ones, and 20% of the adults have been attached long enough to have transmitted pathogens.
Oh.
So most of the time, for the nymphs, 75% of the time, you're not finding them. So check for ticks on a regular basis, especially below the belt. That's not where you're supposed to punch if you're in boxing. Apparently, ticks don't realize that, and that's where they head.
Wow.
Yeah, below the belt, that's where you need to be checking and really, really looking for those nymph-sized
a poppy seed size?
Oh, my goodness.
No wonder they're not found. I mean,
know.
that's crazy. You'd have to, take a shower, basically.
Well, that's recommended. That's one of the things. Just if you've been outside in nature, realize that nature probably has it out for you, trying to take you down. So you're going to have to wash all of that off and really, really check for things. Now, we did run into something that we thought was interesting, that there is clothing that's tick and mosquito repellent.
Right, it's got some kind of repellent built into the clothing instead of spraying yourself down with DEET before you go outside.
Yeah.
This has got it right built in.
It's human-safe repellent, and the clothes will hold this repellency for up to 70 washes. So that lasts forever at my house.
Actually.
Yeah.
You never wash your clothes.
No, just fold it up and put it back in the drawer. Now, before we wrap this up, if you do find a tick biting you, there are a number of ways that people talk about getting them removed. The best way is with pointy tweezers. Just think of a tick as a little germ-filled balloon, and if you squeeze it too hard on the back end, all the germs are going to get pushed out the front. So you don't want to do that. You just grab it as close to the skin as possible with these pointy tweezers and pull it out like it's a splinter or something like that. Even if it's one of those small nymph ones, still grab it as close to the skin as possible and pull it out, and you don't need to worry so much if the mouth parts stay inside. As long as you've got the tick by the head, you'll be okay. So do that, save it. And you might need to identify later if it's a Lyme disease causing tick, which is a deer tick.
Right.
A blackleg tick. Other ones don't do that, don't cause Lyme disease. They don't seem to. But you'll want to make sure you know what you got bitten by. But yeah, that's the best way to get them out. Don't use matches. Don't use Vaseline.
Yeah, crazy stuff that people do.
Yeah, all the different things. Ticks. Gotta love them. No, I choose not to love ticks. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we're back, we'll be in the studio with Peter Ogle from RepcoLite talking about the chat and all kinds of fun stuff. That's just ahead. Stick around.
Helping you turn your house into your dream home. This is the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, presented by Benjamin Moore on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Haley and I are in the studio with Peter Ogle from RepcoLite Paints. Peter, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've had you on before.
Yeah.
We needed a break, so we got you off for... No, I'm joking.
I wanted a break from you, maybe.
Well, that's what I guess I was going to get
Everybody needs a break from me now and again.
Well, maybe she's saying that you needed a break from me.
Oh, that's probably true, too.
That's probably true. No, really, of all the people in this whole company that I should be giving a hard time to, Peter's probably the last person I should be doing that to.
Yeah, he's been doing you favors.
He has been. I bought, for the first time in my life, bought a gun and a couple of different guns, just 22s and stuff like that, just getting started.
Yeah.
And that's a funny story. Someday I'll tell how I bought a gun by accident.
Yes,
I didn't know what I was
only you
doing.
could do
and
that.
all of a sudden, somebody's asking for my money, and I didn't want to look stupid, so I gave them my money.
Oh, my God.
And then I had to figure out, where am I going to shoot this? I just bought a rifle. What am I going to do with it? And I talked to a couple people at RepcoLite who I knew were big into guns, and they said, hey, you got to talk to Peter. And Peter hooked me up with a range. You've brought me out there. You've showed me all kinds of safety things. You've been very helpful.
Our
thank you.
expert.
Yeah. So I shouldn't be making fun of Peter.
I'm glad it did not impede your enjoyment.
No. I'm sorry, Peter. And I stunk, didn't I? The very first time we went out.
We'll call it average.
Yeah.
We'll call it average. I like it.
Yeah, I stunk, but I'm working on it. Anyway, Peter, you do the chat. You handle that on the website, all the little questions that come in. We've got a live chat. What are the hours that you currently run that thing?
8 in the morning till 9 at night.
Man, I should not be making fun of Peter. That's crazy hours. 8 to 9, you're there. So if people have questions, the stores aren't open maybe, or you just don't want to go through the whole phone call, or maybe even pictures to share. You can do all of that on the website at RepcoLite.com, and there's a live person responding to you right away.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. It's not a robot. He's a real person.
He's a real person. Yeah, you can poke him with a stick, and he's real.
Yes.
Just like that. Anyway, Peter, we're going to talk about some of the main questions that you're getting right now. It's kind of fun to hear what people are working on and what questions they're asking. But before we do that, you had mentioned just before we went on air here that you had some epic chat with a gentleman in Florida, I believe.
The
Yes.
longest chat.
Yeah, well, what's up with that?
The longest chat I ever had was about 2 hours, 45 minutes to 3 hours long.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. It was a guy in Florida, of all places,
Okay.
who messaged us because he had worked on machinery for somebody. Well, he shipped off the last of the machinery, and the person he was working on this for
Yeah.
had damaged equipment. Well, the company that sells the paint sells a tiny little 1 ounce bottle for $100
Oh my
for
gosh.
touch up. And he was like, "There's no way I'm going to shell out the money to get this from the company."
Right. That's crazy.
And I would color match it, but I just shipped everything over to my client.
All right.
So
he comes to you wondering, how do you fix this?
Oh, that's another good part. Well, he used to live years ago back in Michigan and actually used RepcoLite in the Holland area.
Okay, that makes sense.
And what caught his eye was an article online about somebody else who actually had to deal with this pain and suffering of shelling out $100 per ounce.
For machinery touch up.
Yeah, for just normal paint. It wasn't anything special even. So he Googled it. He found this article and he recognized the name RepcoLite. Well, he's reading this article and somebody had used metal clad to touch up
Okay.
the machinery.
Which is a paint we manufacture. It's been ages back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an old product.
It's
that
been
we've
around
making.
forever and
Oil-based,
perceivably no difference.
Rust inhibitive product. So he sees that in an article.
Yeah, and he's reading it, and they explained how they had a piece of machinery to bring in at the time that wasn't 140 pounds, which was the lightest thing his client had. Makes bringing a color match in a
Yeah,
tiny
it's a
bit
little
difficult.
tricky.
So he's reading this article. So he hops on our website. He sees the chat. He talks to me. We go back and forth about what his various options are. I think maybe I can find him a Benjamin Moore dealer in the area since there's
Sure.
no way he can bring anything in.
Sure.
About an hour into the conversation, he mentions that the article he has is online and he can get me a link. So I go, okay, I'll take a look. So we start pulling up all this information, and I notice in the background of the photo there's a picture of the metal clad can.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I'm able to actually zoom in on it, and I can see on the side of the can the color formula.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can't see the base, but I recognize the colorants in it that make the blue he was describing.
Sure.
It was a very specific kind of light pale blue. And I don't have the base number, and I tell him that. I'm like, hey, I can actually send the formula over to our shipping or store that does the shipping, and we can make it for you, but I don't know the base. And he goes, I don't care. I'll take as many as it takes. So just make, I'm like, it's either a 2 base or a 3 base. And he's like, make both.
And
I
send
will,
them.
yeah, and send them to
Still
Florida.
way cheaper than the $100.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And he was like, I'll pick this back up someday, and when I do, I'll just exclusively buy from RepcoLite because.
So is that how it ended?
Yeah.
You did that. Oh, my goodness.
It's like detective work.
Well, yeah, that's really good customer service, Peter. I feel really terrible that I started this by saying I needed a break from you.
Well, that's
Probably
really
because
your way, Dan.
Peter makes me feel incompetent, is what it boils down to. So, no, really, that's really well done. And it demonstrates what you'll do on this chat. And that's why I
Right.
think this is so valuable, because I've stumbled into these as well on other websites. And I get excited because I think, okay, I don't have to do the whole phone call thing.
Exactly.
All of that. And then I realize very quickly I'm talking to a robot.
Yeah, this is not going to be
who's
helpful.
just asking, basic questions. And eventually maybe I get to a person. That's not how it works here. You really do put your nose to the grindstone and try to crank out good info for everybody.
Directly to a person is always a nice feature.
Yeah. So really cool. And we want to talk about some of these main questions that you get, but before we get to that, let's dig into one other thing that you handle for us at RepcoLite, and that's renting out our on-floor machine.
Yeah.
It's a unit that we have talked about, Haley and I, over and over again. It's great for decks. If you've got a deck that needs work, and we're heading into deck season.
Exactly.
And you don't want to go through the whole wash it with all the different chemicals and stuff like that and let it dry, we rent out an on-floor machine, and Peter, you handle that. Why don't you walk people through the process? If they need more info, what do they need to do?
Sure. Yeah, you can stop by any of our store locations in Michigan, and you can request whatever it is you'd like to grind: concrete, decks, wood floors. We rent it out for all those applications. They should have a sheet available.
In the store?
Yes, that is a 8-step guide. It covers 90% of the questions everybody has about this thing.
Okay.
And then it also has my email on the bottom. You can have a phone call if you request one. I can get a hold of you. But emails tend to work really well because there's so much visual about this. Sure. And then to be able to have a pamphlet of information on your own is also a very convenient way for you to get that.
So they can reach out to the store. They could probably reach out to you on the chat, and you could send them a copy of this document that you're talking about. And yeah, the on-floor machine is really, it's ideal for decks. It's got...
Anyone can use this. That's the thing.
Right. A lot of you might be thinking about like a big drum sander or something, which takes a little bit of work. And, there's a lot of horsepower with that thing as it's driving itself across the deck, and you got to pull it back. With this on-floor machine, it looks like a Norelco electric razor.
with with the three spinning heads.
Only it's way bigger than that.
Right.
And yeah, it works its way slowly across the deck. Almost, you can do it with one hand.
And it just kind of floats.
It floats. The deck brushes, the scrub brushes that it uses to sand it, they're like little brushes, right, Peter? They're carbide impregnated.
Yeah, they have these. They look like spaghetti noodles that have been stuck to the bottom of a hockey puck. And all three of them spin, and then they all spin on one larger wheel. And to your point that anybody can do this, we had an employee here who was reaching almost 80, and she was able to move this thing around.
Jerry?
Wow.
Jerry.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
That is awesome. I mean, that really tells you that it can be done, and it does a great job on the deck. The cool thing about those bristles, the little spaghetti noodles that you talked about, is if you've got raised nails or screw heads, it doesn't cause any problem at all. It just works right around that, whereas a drum sander or anything with a drum and the belt paper, it's going to tear and cause all kinds of problems. So the on-floor machine, it's, Peter, you mentioned it, hardwood flooring, grinding concrete, sanding your deck, so many different applications. It's about $300 or so to rent it.
Yes. For everything other than hardwood flooring, it's even $300 after once taxes involved a little bit more, but everything is $300. For a hardwood floor, you will want to message me your square footage, whether or not it's hardwood, softwood. Sure. That does factor in because I will need to provide you with sanding discs for the finish.
Okay, yeah. But still, $300, it sounds like a lot maybe, but when you buy all your chemicals and stuff to get the deck cleaned...
Well, and the time that it saves you.
Yeah, you're with all those chemicals, you're pushing close to, $180, $200. Right. And then all the time. This really is a great way to go. You can sand the deck and stain it all in the same day. So, really good way to go. You can find more information about that at any RepcoLite or Port City Paints, or you can get online at RepcoLite.com and chat with Peter, and he'll get you more info. We're going to take a break, Peter, and I'm going to make you stay with us, and then we're going to get to those common questions that you're getting on the other side of the break.
All right, sounds good.
All right, stick around.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Haley and I are still in the studio with Peter Ogle from, RepcoLite Paints. Peter.
You're used to saying some other company.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us over the break. I apologized several more times for making fun of Peter in the beginning. I forget that I don't work with Peter as regularly as I work with Haley.
Yeah, it's not me.
Right. Haley knows me. She knows the buffoonery that I go through and the things that I do, and she just knows that it's a joke. And Peter, I'm not sure that you understand that.
I always just assume it's a joke.
Okay. What does that mean?
I'm
I'm
hopefully
saying it?
optimistic.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
I probably have a lot of people who are very serious about the things they say to me, and I'm sure they're joking.
That's awesome.
It is better that way. I have adopted that as well, and I cry less. Anyway, so Peter, you do our chat. You handle a lot of different things, but one of the things you do is you man our online chat. We talked about that at the end of, all through last segment. It runs from 8 in the morning till 9 at night. You're running this thing Monday through Saturday?
Yes. Saturday I get off at 3 p.m.
Right. That makes sense. But anyway, a real person is running this thing all that time. If you've got questions, Peter's there to work you through them. And right now we want to talk about some of the common things that you're seeing right now. What are people working on? What questions are they asking you?
Well, a lot of people are getting excited for the warmer weather, so they're starting with their pools.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they're
I didn't expect
that far
that.
ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after being cooped up indoors all winter and
sure.
freezing cold, you look forward to summer all to be blasted with 80 degrees, and then you want more cool, moisture around you.
So they're asking about pools. And that is something that we carry, pool paint.
We do. It's one of the things you have to keep in mind is what was previously used on your pool.
Right.
So we're talking in-ground pools.
Yes, in-ground pools. A lot of people want pool paint, and what they don't know is that you have to have either have your previous can or the information on that. Because while we do carry pool paint, there's about 3 different kinds.
And there could be compatibility issues.
Huge compatibility issues,
Yeah,
and you
that
won't
makes sense.
find out until you've put it on that the whole thing was the wrong thing to get, and you have blistering and peeling and
That's
a
never
nightmare.
fun.
Lovely.
That's a bad time to find that out.
Yeah, and especially with how expensive pools and pool paint are, it's you're looking forward to this nice cool bath in the side yard, and all of a sudden instead you have blistering hideous blue that's coming off the side.
So you've got to be aware of what you had before. You can really come into any RepcoLite or Port City Paints and just start the conversation. That's a good thing to start with.
Yes.
If you don't know what you've got. What are the different types that we've got?
We have water-based pool paint, which is not my personal favorite, but if you have it on there, you should go with that.
Okay.
We have chlorinated rubber. Those are the 2 we've narrowed down that every store should carry. And the chlorinated rubber is kind of nice. It's I think will hold up a little better than the water-based. But if you check your shed, or if maybe the previous owner left anything for you, bring that on into the store. We have little pamphlets with the color samples on it. You can change your color, keep your color. There's about 6 really common ones that everybody uses.
Black.
That would be very interesting, actually.
I think I've read that that's a new thing.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and if you look at pictures of it, it is gross. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
No, well, I can tell you how I feel. It's not positive. So pool paint, it's not something everybody thinks that we would carry, but we do.
We do.
And we've got access to all of that, and we'll help you if that's a project you've got going on. What's another common question you're getting?
Well, as we've touched on before, the wood decks, the stains. Once you've ground off all your peeling, failing coating, and you've made it look beautiful and new, what do you want to put on your deck? And a lot of people get confused between the semi-transparent, the solid, and the semi-solid, something in between the 2 of them. What brands to use and what's beneficial.
Okay. Yeah, so we carry a couple of different kinds. We've got RepcoLite's Woodmaster. It's a product that we manufacture. The one that we'd recommend for decks would be our oil-based product. It comes in a solid color and a semi-transparent. The differences between those is a solid color is going to largely look like paint on the surface.
It'll
just
cover
a flat
everything.
Paint, right, covers everything. Semi-transparent, you can get some color. You'll see some wood graining and stuff like that through it. So that's the stain regard, but we also have our Deck and Dock, which is a translucent wood coating, which you're going to see much more graining through, right?
I really am partial to that product. I think it's pretty neat. I would only go to a solid stain when your deck is looking really pretty ruddy. It's starting to fail. You might have some holes from rot or old nail holes that you've had to re-nail because the wood's gotten soft. That covers all the sins.
Right. The downside is it does show traffic very fast.
It does.
Traffic patterns where you're walking.
Right.
It doesn't look good for as long. But
That's
if
true.
you need a solid color for the situations Peter's talking about, yeah. The semi-transparent covers more of the grain than the translucent would, the Deck and Dock that we were talking about. But still, either one of those is going to be pretty good. Like you said, I prefer the Deck and Dock. The thing I love about that is it comes in 4 different colors.
And clear, yeah.
4 different colors and clear. And the nice thing about that is it will last for a year or two. And it's Michigan. That's
Yes.
just what you're going to get. Any promises on any cans from anybody that say more than that, 5-6 years?
It's not, our beautiful mitten is not calculated into their life
No.
longevity.
It's just not honest. They're not referring to Michigan decks. But you'll get a year or two out of this, and it largely just fades away. That's that Deck
Yeah.
and Dock, and it's just a matter of cleaning it
Right.
and reapplying it.
Way easier to recoat.
And don't forget about Arbor Coat. It is a wonderful product because it has everything across the spectrum.
Meaning what?
Right.
It has
us through
everything
that.
from the most translucent to the most opaque.
Well, and water-based and oil-based. I mean, you've got a lot of color options that way, too, if you're going to go with a solid base stain. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
That's Arbor Coat from Benjamin Moore.
That is correct.
And we know we can go through all of these on air like this, and it's really hard to keep track. I mean, we've got 5 people who are probably making really, really serious notes, right? Don't you think?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
5?
Yeah, maybe
5. The rest of everybody is just, oh my goodness, what are you talking about? Stop out at any RepcoLite or Port City Paints. Tell them you're working on a deck, and we'll walk you through the options and all of that. Or you can chat online with Peter.
Yep.
And you will walk them through.
I will
pictures are
happily
always
welcome
helpful.
through.
Yeah, pictures are great, and that's the nice thing about the chat. You can send them back and forth easily and get
Yep.
all your answers right away, and then you head into the store, and you're gonna seem like you're top tier customer quality there, because you're gonna know,
quality.
right? You're gonna know. You're gonna walk in knowing stuff. So, Peter, one more common question that you're getting on the chat.
Peel and stick wallpaper.
Oh,
Do we carry that?
okay. Yeah.
We did recently start carrying peel and stick.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting trend to watch.
Well, and more brands are coming out with versions of peel and stick of the normal glue onto the wall pattern. So like Rifle, for example, really popular right now. They just came out with peel and stick versions of the popular patterns in that. I've got to say, it's a little tricky. It sounds really great in theory. I was just using some peel and stick wallpaper, and I have used normal wallpaper, right, that we're gluing onto a wall. You're rolling the glue out like you would paint, and then lining up the paper on the wall,
Positioning
smoothing
it,
out.
getting it just right.
Exactly. And the positioning that's the key. Because once you've got wallpaper on the wall, now you've got to line up that pattern in the seam perfectly so that you don't see all of that as you're going down the wall. And it's really hard to do that with peel and stick.
Would you say it doesn't move around as nice as when
Yeah.
you go through the effort of the prep?
Well,
Right.
exactly. And it's like if you've ever put on a screen protector, like the clear plastic screen protectors. You've
Like on
got
a phone?
Yeah, line it up just right. And then
Oh,
you've got all
sure.
the bubbles
Oh.
that you've got to work out, right? It's those bubbles that get stuck and just will make you crazy. So if you're really, really good at those, I think you'd be great at peel and stick wallpaper. I'm not good at those.
Oh man, and yeah, Haley. Oh, Peter.
Oh, no.
Let me tell you what that day was like.
Don't worry. He's joking. I promise you he's joking.
He's joking.
Yeah.
No, my goodness.
he's not joking.
Haley was working on that, and we're putting all kinds of stuff together for a big color and design event that we're going to talk about at the end of the show. And in fact, next segment, we're
Yep.
going to tell you how you can get some discounted tickets. It's going to be a great event, and Haley's working on a number of displays. I'm working on stuff, and you were doing this peel and stick wallpaper on a small area, and I would walk through and okay, she's got that first one almost on, that first section, and then then I went away and I built something in the other room for about a half an hour, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and I came back through and she's exactly where she was when I left.
I had to take the entire thing off and start over again.
Several times. I
Yeah.
looked at her because I thought, I'm going to make a funny statement. And then she looked at me sideways, and I realized, don't make any statements. Just walk slowly away. So I did. It was very stressful.
Yeah.
I think Peel and Stick has a great place if you're doing really small stuff, really cool,
Right.
like lining a drawer or, something like that.
Or even
But-
like cabinet faces. I've seen it.
Sure.
And that makes sense. You're doing a small area where you're not lining up a pattern to be perfect throughout an entire wall. So that's a lot easier.
But a whole room of this, I
Right.
think
I
you're
think it'd be really
way
hard.
better off going towards regular paper.
Yeah, the
Is that
traditional.
where you're...
Yeah, the traditional stuff is what I like to recommend for anybody having
Yeah.
a large project.
It sounds like it's going to be so much more work, but it's actually a lot
It's
easier.
so much easier. And I think people get afraid of stripping wallpaper off. And I think that's a reason to go with peel and stick too, if you're a person that knows you're going to change, pretty dramatically over time.
Yeah, what you
And
said, though,
the
is once you
trends-
finally got it on, you said, I would never, ever take it off again.
I'm never doing this
Right?
again. Yeah.
It does come off easier, but going up, not easy. Definitely something really cool for small stuff,
Yes.
but probably not for big full-scale projects. And that's where you're at, Peter, too, right? We're all on the same page there.
I think so.
Look at that. All right. That's all the time we've got for this. Peter, we're going to have to release you back to your normal place of work, and you're going to man the chat until 9 this evening. No, 3 o'clock this evening. But then next week, 8 to 9, all over again, right?
That's right.
Do we want to encourage people to start chatting with you at like 5 to 9? Wouldn't
Oh,
that be nice?
Whenever is convenient for them, I say.
really?
Yeah.
Man,
Seems good.
He's way better than I
I
am.
certainly wouldn't mind 5 to 9 either.
Peter Ogle, thanks so much for hanging out here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Haley, it's time for a break, and then we're going to be back talking about that color and design event that we kind of just hinted at.
Yeah. Down the rabbit hole.
And most importantly, we're going to tell you how you can get discounted tickets. That's all just ahead. Stick around.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, Haley, let's talk about Down the Rabbit Hole, our great big color and design event for 2022. It's something that if you've listened to the show regularly for, a few years, you've probably heard me and Betsy previously talking about color and design events. We did one a couple, maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Before COVID.
Yeah, before COVID, focused on Iris Apfel, who is a designer, but also...
She's become like a fashion icon.
Right. At 90, well, I think she's 100 now.
Yeah, she's over 100
Over
now.
100, still alive. During that event, I ended up liking her Facebook page because I love Iris. Betsy had to fight with me for Iris to be the focal point of this event that we put on. 'cause
She's pretty strange.
I couldn't wrap my brain around it.
Yeah.
Huge round glasses, crazy clothing, huge bangly necklaces, jewelry.
Crazy, like, clashing patterns.
Oh, my goodness. And yet, I thought, what in the world can she possibly have to say to our customers and, the people we work with about fashion and design and decorating? What in the world? And yet, when we got into it, it was absolutely brilliant what she had to say. To me, it changed how I do everything designing, decorating in the home even. It gave me permission to go find my own style. It didn't have to be crazy like
Right.
Iris's, but it was my own style, and that made it so much more fun. I'm not decorating for somebody else at this point. Well, anyway, I liked her page, her Facebook page, in the midst of that. And now, I tell you, this is absolute truth. Every single time a little post shows up, I have this moment
Oh
of,
my gosh.
uh-oh, is this the one?
I knew you were going to say that.
I know. But she's still kicking, and she's still working really hard. Iris Apfel, you need to look into her.
Yeah,
she
I
was
think she just
brilliant.
released a clothing line for H&M, actually.
Yeah.
So,
She's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Love that lady. And so then COVID hits. We did that great design event. We were so excited about it, building up momentum. COVID hits. We have 2 years off, a year and a half. I don't even know how many we didn't do. And now we're back. And we've got this new one, Down the Rabbit Hole, finding and being found by the next new idea.
yeah, this all came about because we were brainstorming even before I started here, actually.
Yeah, I interviewed Haley for a segment on the show where we talked about colors, Benjamin Moore's Color of the Year.
Yep.
It was right after Betsy left. And so you came on and we did an interview, and we hit it off so well in that interview. I thought, well, maybe I can get your help
Yeah,
with this
I need
design
some
event.
ideas, some direction, and some people to talk about. And you brought up Picasso because the idea that you were working with at that time was, how in the world do you do something that's never been done before?
Right.
And Picasso being like the father of Cubism, he started a completely different way of painting, a completely different look. And, conceptual idea about what you could do with a painting.
And I think that is so interesting because the thing I like about that is just like Iris. People told me Iris is interesting. You need to follow her and pay attention to what Iris has to say. And I couldn't get it. People would tell me Frank Lloyd Wright is an amazing architect. I don't know why. I don't know why. And people say that about Picasso. A master. I look at the paintings and I think, I don't get it. How is this masterful? And then it hit me as I'm working through and reading stuff that he created, Cubism, amongst other things. But let's just talk about Cubism.
Yeah.
Nobody had done anything like that.
Right.
And he just did it. And that doesn't sound like much until you think about, okay, right as soon as the show's done, go make art that nobody's ever done before. Not just a picture that nobody's ever painted.
Right.
Or a sculpture nobody's ever sculpted.
But a completely different way of looking at the world.
Right. That's why he's a genius.
Yes.
That's why he's a master, and that's why we should pay attention.
And there's so many people like that out there, and I think that they are polarizing typically because they are very different, especially when they first start doing something that we've never seen before. And so we don't always know how to react to them, like you said.
Right.
And so we kind of went down the rabbit hole ourselves, looking into these different characters that we came across, like Alice in Wonderland almost.
Yeah.
We're being challenged by them. We're not quite sure if we like them or not. They're a little bit scary, but they've definitely got something to teach us.
Right. And the whole focus of this event is going to be, like we said, finding and being found by the next new idea. It's about creativity. And the fun thing about this one is it really can impact everybody. Yes, it's going to have a focus on decorating and design and all of that. Of course it's going to have that. But even if that's not your main gig,
right,
and not your favorite thing, there's still going to be all kinds of talk about finding creativity, unleashing your own creativity. And when you live creatively, it's just a much happier existence.
Well, yeah, you're more engaged, you're more open, you're asking questions. And I think that all brings us more joy, whether we realize it or not right now. I think there's a lot of value in these concepts. And when we're talking about new ideas, like you said, this impacts everyone, not just creative people or people in the design or art field. This is for any business owner, right? I mean, new ideas are money.
Right, exactly. You think about COVID and all the things that have changed because COVID came and it reared its head, and we all had to adjust to that. I think about curbside service, and I order my groceries online now, and I can show up there, and they load them in my car, and I can drive away, and it takes me 5 minutes worth of time. All of those innovations came out because of a conflict or a constraint that happened, and creativity is what drives that. So we're going to focus on creativity, but we're also going to keep a heavy leaning into home projects and the paints that you want to use and the colors and how you can work this together. And basically, we're going to try to inspire everybody out there to find a way to approach decorating, living, just in a more creative manner.
And with a little bit more freedom, I think.
Right. Now, the whole thing is going to happen on June 1. So coming up really soon, we're hosting the event at the Sunnybrook Country Club in Granville, and it's going to run from 7 to probably about 8:30 or so.
Yeah.
And we'll do all the things that we talked about, all this creativity stuff, but we're also going to have great desserts, wine,
door prizes.
Everybody who comes is going to get a $10 RepcoLite gift certificate in their little take-home bag, amongst other things. And yeah, you'll be able to see all kinds of displays that we put together, wallpaper that Haley's picked. We're going to talk about all of those things.
Right. So if you're interested in attending that event, that's June 1st. Tickets are $10 a piece. You can head to RepcoLite.com. We've got a banner right on the homepage that'll take you to the Eventbrite where you can purchase those tickets.
Right. Now, we're going to give you a promo code for all of the radio listeners. So you've got some inside scoop here. You can get the tickets for half price if you enter the code RADIO at checkout. So there'll be a little blue link that says enter promo code. Click that, enter radio, and then you're going to be able to get all your tickets that you want at half price. Now, even better for the radio listeners, we're going to give away 5 pair of tickets for free to what?
The first 5.
Yeah. That's how that would work. The first 5 people who email us at radio@repcolite.com will each get a pair of free tickets to the event. All right. Whatever you do today, make sure paint's a part of it. The RepcoLite and Port City paint stores are open until 3, waiting to help. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Haley Johnson. Thanks for listening.